Greetings to my YouTube followers, Facebook followers. This is John Demokis, aka Half Man, Half Cichlid. I wanted to revisit a few things on my 200-gallon aquarium, planted aquarium with CO2. We're now entering the 7th month of CO2, and after 40-50 years of failures with live plants, I'm happy to report that my aquascaping has been essentially reinvented with CO2, where the plants actually grow like crazy. Some of the things I want to point out, one is I'm very proud of is my Cryptocoryne jungle on the right side of the aquarium here that I'm zooming in on. In previous videos I had reported that all of my what are typically substrate plants are planted in small pond baskets, and I'm also happy to report that those who may have had a problem with the pond baskets being visible between the plants becoming very lush, and putting some anubias in front of the pots, the pots are essentially, the pond baskets are essentially invisible now, except I've got one sword over here that I'm growing out on the right side in my kind of grow out pond section. So some of the key learnings recently are you can grow huge with CO2 in substrate plants. You can grow huge plants in tiny pots. This is a very tiny, like a 3-inch pond basket here, and you can see it has a huge crypt that's growing in it. I was transplanting them into larger pots, but I'm finding out that that's unnecessary. I have another one back there that's kind of hidden by the fish right now that has a 3-inch pond basket and probably has 10 inches of plant roots trailing out of the tiny pond basket to nourish the plant. So they're well hidden. The plants grow super. They no longer need root tabs. Apparently, growing them in baskets, the plants can get their nutrient that would typically come up through roots under a substrate with root tabs. They can now draw nutrients from the water column. The ammonia, the nitrates, micronutrients that are provided in part by my dosing, but primarily by the metabolism of the fish. So beautiful plants without substrate, other than the small amount of substrate in the pots. You'll see I'm also growing, as I mentioned and touched on, Amazon swords in the pots. There's the other one back there, hidden by an anubias. All the other plants are basically epiphytes, that is Java ferns, and anubias that will grow on rocks and driftwood, or even other larger plants. And I have some stem plants, which is the octopus plant back there, And of course I've got this these masses of water sprite growing on the surface that I'm going to have to trim shortly. But the main thing I wanted to show you was what can be done with crypts in small pond baskets. Some of the advantages. And I mentioned with the crypts, they did really well without CO2. I must say, though, the CO2 has caused them to at least double their growth rate. So the CO2 is obviously aiding as a catalyst for growth by giving the plants a source of carbon that was very limited without the CO2. So anyway, look forward to any comments or questions. Just loving this aquarium, and there's something going on in here every day. No aggression, just beauty and serenity. Thank you, half man, half cichlid.